What's up, everyone? All 20 to 30 of you that listen. That is everyone usually. But hey, if you're listening, I appreciate you. And thank you so much for joining me. And especially if you've seen all my shows, I know that's probably a small group of people, but hey, power to you. If you've seen all of them, I really appreciate it. If you like this stuff, yeah, share it. Share it with your friends, share it with your family. I'd like to be able to do some more stuff, reach out, get some more feedback, hear more about what you guys want to listen to, what you want me to talk about, if you want me to talk about anything. But today, well, I should say tonight, it is Saturday night, and I got nothing better to do than film an episode, but it's okay because I really enjoy doing it. That's something that I hope you guys know that listen to it. I enjoy doing this very much. Even though I don't have very many listeners, I do still enjoy it. So, on this Saturday night, I want to talk to you about, wait for it, spoiler alert, the title gives it away. I want to talk about social media. So, I touched on social media on my second episode, and I highly recommend if you have not seen my second episode, please go watch it because I will be piggybacking off of a lot of the information that I used in that one, in this one. So let's just get into it. So now, I'm seeing with social media this sort of crazy world, man. It's like people are just getting out of their minds. And my first thought about it is it social media just totally takes the human aspect out of things, right? And like, for instance, I've seen so many arguments on Twitter, like literally there's an initial statement, an attack on that statement, and then the rest of the argument is basically the two people trying to explain what they meant. And I've seen most of the time, people just get mad and like rage quit. And they're like, oh, I'm done with this. But or I shouldn't say most, but I've seen a few where they actually get done with the argument after they've defined everything that they've meant, and they leave on, I should say, neutral terms. I don't want to say good terms, but they leave on neutral terms. It's like, that's just really good example of the human aspect being taken out of things, because you could read someone's comment on something, and if you're having a bad day, you're going to be like, oh man, why is that person being so mean? I don't like them. I'm going to go off on them. Or maybe you're having a really good day, and then you see the same thing and you're like, oh, okay, that's cool. Maybe they didn't mean it in a rude way, but it just seems like that. It's like it's just so open to interpretation. Whereas when you have the human interaction, you have like facial cues, body cues, and even the pitch of your voice going through tone, all that good stuff. I mean, it's just, there's a reason why that we use those sorts of things when we communicate with each other in person, and the social media just totally takes it away. And it's also less enjoyable too, because there's something really to be said about having a good conversation, especially one, like, I see so many heated arguments and debates, and I mean, I'm not going to lie, I've been in a few, but it's like, it's so much better to do it in person, because the thing about having these debates in person, more or less, you immediately start off with sort of a baseline respect for one another. That's just how it goes, that from my observation. But because you're hidden behind a screen, and you're not in the same room with that person, you basically have no respect for each other right off the bat. So therefore, in each other's minds, you think it's okay to go for the throat. I'm not saying everyone does, but man, the filter is definitely off. And it just, it makes people so angry, and it's such a poisoning experience. And man, I tell you, I see so many people, they just come out with these very these I don't want to say hateful, just super negative statements. It's like an attack that I scroll through Twitter or I see through Facebook because I got a Facebook now. Like I wasn't even about that, and then I get here to college and everyone's using Facebook. And I'm like, man, I'm missing out on all this info. I got to get a Facebook, so that's one more platform that I got to see people gripe about things and argue about things. And man, it's something that I've noticed. It's just I see these attacks that people just come out with for no reason, and I just think to myself, man, do you guys, like, these people who do that? Do they just not have anything better to do with their time? Like, it's one thing to have, a very respectful conversation with someone on social media if it's the only way you can do it, especially if you want to see people have that argument. But it's, number one, I would not say it's the right place to do it, and number two, it just, like I said, even if you know the person, you just don't have that same in-person relationship. And man, when I go through social media, I think there's something to be said, because there's there's this meme of Earl Sweatshirt, and it's just him sitting there on a stool, and he's sitting there, and he's like, I think he has his phone in his hand, and he says, sometimes Twitter just makes me want to effing kill myself. And it's like I don't take that super literally, but man, I see what he's saying, because I'll be scrolling through Twitter, and I'm sure you guys can relate to this, and let me know if you have similar experiences or maybe totally opposite experiences. Maybe I'm just an outlier, but man, I'll be scrolling through Twitter, and I get done, and I'm like, number one, I just wasted time. And number two, I just don't feel that good. I just have this negative mood. I'm like really down all the time. And I think there's really something to be said about that too. When you just come away from a social media app and it's supposed to be this happy place, but you get done and you're not that happy. I mean, if you've watched my second episode, you'll see that how I was talking about kids getting depression and even a few kids getting suicide, or sorry, suicide's not a disease, but they don't get suicide. Sorry about that. But kids commit suicide rather. And so it's like, well, what's that going on with social media? And when you get done with going through a little social media session, you think to yourself, what was that really worth my time? I came out of it not feeling that good, and I just wasted 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, and then the crazy part is that, like, if you add up all the time that you spend on social media, especially when you use your phone, that helps add a bunch of time to social media. Let's just come up with some numbers, some reasonable numbers, maybe on the conservative side. So let's say you go on social media maybe 5 times a day, 5 or 6 times a day. And okay, let's go 6 times a day. Social media 6 times a day, and you spend 10 to 15 minutes on social media. Yeah, I'd say give or take 6 times, give or take 10 minutes each time. Guess what? That is an hour. It's like, man, you take a whole hour out of your day, and you can't even look at it in the 24-hour sense, because I mean, you sleep for, I hope, at least 8. So you're automatically at a disadvantage, because that takes an hour away from your day, an hour where you could be going out and having real human interaction. And then you add that up. That's an hour a day, 7 days a week. Well, that's 7 hours. And then let's say how many? Yeah, so hour a day, that's about 30 hours a month. And let's see, that's, my math is correct. 30 hours a month, and then 12 months in a year. Yeah, that's what 360 hours a year, and that's a lot. And I really hope my math is on that. Yeah, that'd be really embarrassing if it's not. I think it is, but that'd be really embarrassing. If it's not right, just please respectfully correct me. My point is, it's a lot of time. I mean, 7 hours in a week, and like I said, I really think those are conservative numbers. I think that the amount of time we spend on social media is way more than that. But still, it's like an hour out of your day. Could you imagine? Like I think the thing that puts it in perspective is if you only devoted all the time you spend on social media to one session. And I know because of how social media works, it's not going to be really possible or at least entertaining. But let's say you spend that whole hour just on social media alone, be like, oh my gosh, this is like, that took so much time, and you get done and you're like, oh my gosh, that's an hour. I could have spent so much time. And I think there's something to be said about how much time there it takes, and just kind of the social level of kids nowadays. I mean, gosh, you don't really ask people out on dates anymore, at least in person. I mean, unless they're your girlfriend or your wife, or the opposite sex, I should say, and they're going to say yes. I mean, shoot, back in the day, you had to ask them in person, or at least call them on the phone so you could hear their voice. I mean, that's much more human. That's many more human characteristics in that form of communication rather than social media, and it's just this human aspect. And another a point about that is, I'm sure we've all seen those pictures of those. There'll be a group of kids sitting around in a room, but like everyone is on their phone. And the only thing you can do as a viewer of that picture is cringe, and then think of the fact that you're on social media looking at that picture, and you're like, what does that say about me? And I'm having this real like hard time seeing why. Well, I guess it's not a hard time. It's more of an easy time seeing why people are so unsocial. I mean, like, I see people walking around, like a trend to have these jackets that say like the anti-social social club. I don't really know what that is, and I hope no one comes after me for a trademark for saying that, but it's like, it's true. It's like you have this big group of people, and they're all on social media, but like, how social are they? And man, I've been in rooms with people who are just on social media all the time, and it's not that fun. And another thing too is with the whole like the feeling you get with social media. I remember like, I'll take a weekend and I wouldn't go on social media, especially when I was going like outdoors or something where if there wasn't good signal, there wasn't any at all. I remember just coming out of it just feeling really good, just feeling super positive, just an immediate, like an initial feeling of positivity whenever I just went and did something. And I know you could attribute that to going out into nature or just doing something else, but I think there's something to be said about the fact that you're kind of disconnected. And moreover, there was this one time over summer where, man, this past summer, I just got like super depressed. And I mean, I was pretty bored. I really didn't have much to do, but the only thing I could do, excuse me, the only thing I could do was go on social media. And I ended up going on it so much. I found myself at the slightest little bit of no attention. Like, if there wasn't something getting my attention, and I'll touch on this later, but if there's something that's not getting my attention, I was just like, bam, social media, bam, take out my phone, bam, I need to go check how many likes I got or something. And I remember I just sat back and I'm like, man, I'm just getting so depressed. I need to figure out, because I mean, those of you who've been depressed, and nowadays it's much more, or many more kids than it used to be. But those of you who've been depressed, you know, it's not a great feeling. It's just this empty, terrorizing feeling, and it's a problem that you just have to solve, or else it's just going to get worse quicker, and not in a good way. And so I decide to put, or I kind of take 3 days off of social media. I didn't go like on vacation or anything. I took 3 days off of social media, and I turned my notifications off. I didn't delete my social media. I turned my notifications off. That being because sometimes that's the way people get a hold of you. I mean, there's people who you don't necessarily want to have your number, but you still are okay with them communicating with you, or just, if that's just how it is nowadays. People communicate a lot on social media. So I just kind of turn the notifications off, and every now and then I check the apps. If I had a little number on the app, then I'd check it. But if not, then I wouldn't check it. So 3 days after that, and man, I just felt great, and I was like, this is a really good feeling, and I felt myself having to force myself to go out and do things, go interact more with people, go do things more for people, be a little bit less selfish, and just kind of enjoy the relationship aspect with other people, the physical, in person relationship with people, and you come out of it just feeling much better. And then after that, I remember, because I felt so good, I did not go on social media nearly as much. I mean, I was like, okay, it's been 3 days. I feel really good. I told myself after 3 days, I'll let myself go back on to social media. But that desire to go there, to go on social media, it just wasn't there. If there's something that wasn't getting my attention, then I mean, my default wasn't to go to social media. So I just felt a lot better, and I just didn't go on it less. And I remember, I just remember the first half of my summer just being kind of garbage because of that mental state that I had. And then after I went through that social media thing, and I did other things, but the most important one was the just kind of getting away from social media. I remember after that, I felt better. The rest of the summer, I just felt way better, just more happy. And I actually told a few people, when a few of my friends would come to me and say like, hey, I'm just not really feeling good about myself. I'm just kind of really down, and I'm just not feeling there's just something that I'm not getting, and or something I'm being deprived of. And I tell them, I say, the first thing you got to do is you have to go out, and you have to delete. Well, sorry, not delete. Turn your notifications of social media off, and then just don't go on it for the next few days. And I've gotten feedback, and it's worked. It's worked for my friends, and they say, yeah, I'm just so much happier. And I've read a lot of online articles of teens talking about how when they just cut it out of their life, they feel much better. And I mean, you got to think, it's so hard to think about it now, how we can just operate without social media, because it's so intertwined with the fabric of our society, of our culture. But people did just fine, and I would argue did even better without social media. So it's not a horrible thing if you delete it. And I think the another perk of getting away from social media, and it's something that I mentioned earlier, was you'll find that your attention span just gets a lot bigger. And they have actually, I've heard that they've dumbed down. I shouldn't say dumbed down. They've reduced the news cycle. It's like at its lowest that it's ever been, because people's attention span is so low. And I'm sure you can relate, because if you're scrolling through Twitter, and the second you see a post or a sequence of posts that you saw in the previous time you went on Twitter, boom, you're off, you're onto Instagram, or you're onto Snapchat, or you're onto Facebook, or if there's anything else, that's what you're on. And it's just like, it's the cycle, if boom, Twitter's not giving me attention, or it's not having my attention, boom to Instagram, boom to Snapchat, boom to Facebook. And it's that little scroll, right? It's such like an infinitesimal amount of physical exertion, and we get a little bit of dope, little dopamine. And sometimes you see some good funny stuff, and you're like, oh, I want to keep seeing that. Or sometimes you see some drama that for some intrigue you, and you just want to keep scrolling for it. You want to keep getting a little bit more dope, and before you know it, you're spending hours on social media. You're spending a whole hour a day. You could argue 2 hours a day on social media, 7 to 14 to 20 hours a week on social media. And man, that's a lot of time. That's, like I said, that's time that you can be spending with other people. And it's just, if you can just take it, excuse me, if you can just reduce it in your life. I'm not saying to delete it all, because there are really good perks of social media, but if you can just reduce it all, you'll find that your attention span gets a lot bigger. And I mentioned how there's something else. There were other things that I did when I went for that social media cleanse, and other things I tell my friends to do when they're not feeling that great mentally. I tell them, number one, turn the notifications of social media off, stay off it for a few days. Number two, I'd go out and learn things. And I know I'm going off on a little bit of a tangent from today's topic, but you go out and you learn something. And I think the reason why now that I think about it, it makes much more sense why it helps, because when I did it, I was just like, I need something to do. I don't have social media to entertain myself with, so I need something else to do, something I could hold in my hands, or something I can witness that's going to keep my attention. But something that we can all agree on is better. And I would learn things, right? And in the form of reading a book, and you might call it cheating, but just watching like sort of what this is, like podcast episodes on YouTube. And I would argue it's very different than typical Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, social media. YouTube is slightly different. In some senses it is. It's just an all in how you use it. But my point being, you listen to people, and I mean, nowadays it's not people like me who are just spouting off things, but I hope you're finding this of good use. But you can get these people who are super qualified to be having these opinions, not just opinions, but just giving you facts about things. Man, I learned a lot about history. I learned a lot about philosophy, politics. I learned a lot about that stuff, and it's all stuff that I'm super interested in. And next thing I know, my attention span is way bigger, because after a while, I was able to sit down and read through a whole chapter of a book. I remember when I first really started reading. I mean, this was back a while ago. I couldn't really sit down and read for a little bit. I mean, even a few pages. I mean, your mind starts to wander. And I think there's a lot of kids now who they just don't like to read. And I think it's because it's that attention span, right? And so I go and I start off reading a little bit, and I learned some things. I'm like, wow, this is really cool. I'll keep reading. And before I know it, my attention span has gotten a lot bigger. and it kind of reverses what you did. Uh, it reverses the effects of what social media had on you, and I think that's why it helps heal you, because I remember when I let myself go back into social media, I was like, I don't know, I just it's just I don't like seeing it, and there this aspect of social media that I'd like to get into right now, that part of the reason why I was like, I don't know, I just don't like being on here. It's just so negative. uh, it's kind of paradoxical, right? Because it's negative, you have this negative effect, but the funny thing is, social media, you just have people posting about the best part of their life, right? And I mean, I know the joke is on, like, there's a joke about Twitter where everyone wants to die and all that stuff. I mean, yeah, I get that, but I mean, like, come on, like, when you're going through pictures of other people, I mean, they don't just post raggedy pictures of themselves. At least some don't, or most don't. But I mean, these people, they want to look their best, and they do, and they just post it on social media, and you're like, oh, wow. I don't really feel too good about myself. Uh, and then especially like when you go on to Instagram and Facebook, where people are just posting about these experiences they've had. It's like here, this is what I've been doing, right? And it looks cool, right? I mean, they're traveling, or maybe they got a new dog, or they just had this awesome thing go on with their family, or they just achieved some great accomplishment, and then here you are laying on your bed with your phone, like, your phone's like, huh, and you're just laying there, and you're going, man, like, like, what am I doing with myself? And even though you may not consciously think that, I think there's something more to it, a little bit more in the subconscious realm, where we're going, where we assess what these people are doing, and then we assess ourselves in that instant state. That there's just something just so instinctual about it, where we see someone at that moment and they look that so good, but in that very same moment, we're laying down there, or we're laying down with our hair messed up, and just in some sweats, and just looking like raggedy, and we're not doing anything. We're just laying there, and we just take that assessment. It's like, oh man, they're so much better, and it's just that feeling that you get when you see someone, and you think, oh man, they're so much better, and it creates emptiness, and you don't feel like you're enough, right? It's you and especially when you see like the feedback they get, right? You I'm not saying that everyone's jealous, but I think that there's that little instinct of jealousy that every person has in them, comes out a little bit subconsciously, at least subconsciously. But when they see that, and they go, man, like, these people are, look at all the attention they're getting. I wish I had that attention. And then in that instant, when you realize that they're getting all that attention right then, but here you are not getting any attention, you're like, man, like, man, I need some attention. And and then you get sad, and it's depressing, and that's kind of how I guess that's the gist of how, when you're using social media a lot, you get kind of sad. And and I also think that social media just is not a really good motivator. It's just it's even though you see people going out, and like they say nowadays, they're living their best life, right? It's just it just it's weird, because it wants to keep you hooked on going out, and, or I shouldn't say going out, staying in, right? And going on social media, and you're looking for those dopamine hits, right? You'd rather try and do something to match the attention, if not surpass the attention of people around you, by posting yourself and things that you've done on social media. And that's kind of how we live. And man, it's like, there's something so I just cringe so hard and I'm not gonna lie, I've been the guy in the crowd doing the same thing a number of times. I don't do it as much. I don't think I do, but I'm not gonna lie. I've done it a few times, but I find it so cringeworthy when something's going on, and like if you just I've done this so many times, and please do it. You'll be amazed, right? Something will happen. Like, yeah, maybe someone's doing something funny or something really unexpected happen, right? But you stop 1 second and then you look around and everyone just boom, Snapchat, and then they're recording. They're recording, right? It's like it's like why don't you just like watch it, like watch what's going on. And I can't tell you how many times I've seen people go like their Snapchat just got done recording and then they're like trying to post it or something, and then something even more exciting happens and then their friend tells them about it and they're like, oh, I missed it, still trying to post their thing. And I mean, I've done it. There's been a few times where I've done that too. I've been the perpetrator of that act a few times, and you're just like, man, like if I wouldn't have been putting it on social media, maybe I would have seen it. And the funniest thing too is I'm only going to speak for myself right here, but I'd be willing to bet that a lot of you would agree with me. Or I should put it this way. I remember past events just as well as how should I word this? If I were to document past events at that time on social media and then post them, I remember them just as well as if I wouldn't have used social media at all. And I know you can't really compare two of the same events, but the way I put it is I've been through super exciting things and I've documented it on social media and I posted it, and I've been through super exciting things and I did not document it on social media, and I remember each one the same. And it kind of, at least for me, and like I said, I'll speak for myself, but I'll be willing to bet you guys you'll agree. But it seems to me that it kind of it pokes a big hole in the argument. Like, oh, I want to have this memory for myself. And yeah, sometimes it's nice to have these Snapchat memories pop up once or every few days. You're like, oh, this happened a year or two ago, or on Facebook, like, wow, this happened so many years ago. And yeah, I mean, that's nice, but I mean, honestly, think about it. Like, do you really remember things any better because you documented them on social media? If you do, more power to you. I think I want to distinguish something here. There's something for posting it on social media, and then there's just taking your phone out and recording a moment, because that's just like you don't. It's such a different thing to go out and record something with the intent of posting it on social media for the attention, rather than just documenting it on your phone just for the fact that you can go back and watch it later. And it's something very different. And that's something I kind of want to go into, or I want to touch up again on, was that look at me aspect of social media, because you want to, it's like both sides of the argument don't really work. The first side, you're seeing people who are posting the best about themselves, and then you feel bad about yourself. But naturally, you want to feel just as good as they do, presumably they do, or if not better. And so you go out and you do the same thing. And then what you end up having is you have this weird culture of just, hey, look at me, look at what I'm doing, look at how good I look at what I'm eating, look at what I'm doing. And I'm just, I've come to find it so cringy. It's like, man, you really want to share some of that with other people, or much less you want to just, maybe you should just enjoy the moment, right? You're going through something really cool, and it's like, maybe you should enjoy the moment. And I want to be careful. I don't want to say enjoy the moment, but I think something that really accents this argument here is when XXX, I don't want to say the rest of his name because I'll mess it up and then I'll embarrass myself. But you guys get it. X, right? The rapper. When he got shot, there's videos. There's so many videos of people just going up to him and they're just like, boom, on their phone, and no one tried to help him. You see it in those videos. People aren't going up to him trying to help him. What are they doing? They're going up there with their phones and they're filming him like his dead body, right? And it's like as if that gets that person some fame or whatever. That's kind of awful, right? And I remember seeing a post that went viral on Twitter, and this doctor said, like, I've worked in hospitals and I know for a fact that seconds matter. And if these people wouldn't have been so quick to go on Snapchat or whatever they were using to record, if they wouldn't have been so quick to do that and actually been much quicker to helping him, they could have had a different outcome. Now, I don't know like where he was shot. I don't know if it was like if he died instantly or not, but I mean, I think it's still a sufficient argument because you miss out on a lot, right? When you're trying to do things for social media. And another like really cringy thing too, that with this look at me aspect of social media is I've seen so many people, as soon as like they just act like a normal person, right? And then as soon as someone like puts a camera on them, you just start acting like a fool, or they just act crazy. And there's this prank, right, that me and my friends used to do, where we would be at like a party or a dance, and we would go up to them, and like when it was dark, and we'd go up to them and we'd turn our flashlights on, but it like we were acting like we were recording on Snapchat with the flash on, and people would just go nuts, right? And I mean, they'd act like a fool, and then like we tell them like, oh, like it's just a flashlight, and then they just get mad. They're like, oh, really? And then they just go back to acting like a normal person, and it's like what do you have to gain from just acting like superficial on what do you have to gain from acting superficial on social media when in real life you're just much less? And well, I don't want to say much less, but it's like you're just a different person. So what do you have to gain from showing an aspect of yourself that's not even real? And then when people actually meet you and then they find out that you're much different, it's like, does it help you or does it hurt you? You know, it's a good question. So I think that's something that I can sort of start to wrap this video up on with, and or I should wrap this video up with. That's the best way to say it. So I think something that I'm going to do, and I'll try it, and I'll update you in the next, if not the next two episodes, is I think I'm going to delete all my social media off my phone and then only use it on my computer. I've heard of a lot of people using it on computers. Just a quick point that I forgot to mention was how, like, if you look up, there's like a bunch of like Silicon Valley CEOs and just super higher ups, and they use flip phones. Like they use flip phones, right? They use like the little slide up phones. But I mean, you get it. They use these sort of archaic style phones. And I mean, it's like, okay, these people in Silicon Valley, what is it that they must know something? Either they know something that we don't, or they've realized something that we haven't yet, right? And because they're the ones who are crafting the social media tech experience for us, they're crafting it, but yet they're using flip phones and whatnot. And I think there's something definitely big to be said there, because I mean, if higher ups in Silicon Valley corporations are just using flip phones, that seems a little ironic or paradoxical, right? Just doesn't really make sense. So yeah, that's what I was saying. I think it's a good idea, because even after that social media cleanse I had this past summer, I've still gone back into phases where that's all I do. And especially, like, it's kind of hard, because especially in college, when like sometimes you find yourself like, oh, I have an hour and a half or 2 hours on my hands. Like, what am I supposed to do with that time? You know? And sometimes you just lay there on your phone or whatnot. But I think there's plenty of other substitutes. In fact, I know there's other substitutes for that. So I'm going to delete the social media off my phone. Make sure I remember my passwords first. So if you do that, make sure you do the same. But and then only use it on my computer, and I will let you know if you keep watching. I will let you know how that goes. So please, I if I can just urge you to do something, it would just, try and stay off social media a little bit more, stay off of it, and just try and get into the relationships with your lives, and just getting a real personal in person relationship found. And it's like how I said earlier, if you watch my second episode, the ending, I I underline how important relationships are, and how I think that's slipping away with kids now with social media. They just, there's some human factor about social media that we're not getting and that we're lacking. And so I think if we could all stay off of it much more. I don't want to say delete it entirely, because I mean, there are some really good things about social media. I mean, you stay in contact with some family members that you may not have, some old friends. Sometimes you stay up to date on some things, and let's be realistic. The things you stay up to date on, most of them are kind of pointless. At least I could definitely say that for myself. And I'll be, like I said, I would be willing to bet that it's the same for you too. But if you made it this far, I really appreciate you listening. And please, if you like it, please like it. Subscribe to my channel. If you haven't checked out my other episodes, I I warmly invite you to check out my other episodes. And it's this whole thing is something that I really enjoy. So the more feedback I get, that's the better I can make this experience. And I know it's not too much, but yeah, please give me feedback, share with others, like it, subscribe, and like I said, I just appreciate that you've listened this far. And so yeah, let's try and make something a little bit more with the young American exploration with Trevor Mauk. That'd be great. I'd love it. And if you're watching, wherever you're watching, good night, good morning, or good day. So thank you for watching again, and take care.